The wrestling business is legendary for its ribs. And I know most of you know that that means pranks, just nasty little things we do to one another. Typically behind the scenes, sometimes right out in the ring. Sometimes it'll be apparent to you guys that we're ribbing one another. Sometimes it's more subtle. But I've conducted a few of these ribs myself. I've witnessed a bunch of these ribs. This is one of those stories. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any video from this night, but I still think the story is worth telling. I think you guys will get some enjoyment out of it. So any clips you see that I intersplice during this video, they're unrelated. It's just clips to, kind of break things up. So anyway, at this point, I had long since had my official retirement match. I was retired, but I would come back, here and there just to do big shows or when it was requested. I still knew and still know a lot of people in the business and just enjoyed working with the guys. And I never retired because I thought I couldn't wrestle anymore. There were always extenuating circumstances. So I'd come back every so often. So this particular night was a big show for, I believe it was World of Hurt Wrestling, which is very near and dear to me. So I came back to do the show. Now, I was just going to be wrestling this green kid, and I apologize for not being able to remember his name, but young kid, new to the business, and it was just going to be a relatively short match. I had planned on putting in a lot of comedy spots, just having a good time with the match. But apparently my reputation precedes me a little bit, and everyone knew that all my matches were typically hardcore. I like to work snug, and it was going to be solid. There was going to be contact in my matches. So I think maybe this had this kid a little apprehensive. So I wasn't there yet, but he was at the venue. My buddy Hoss, who I'd been up and down the road with many, many times. Hoss, same as me, just loved the hardcore stuff. We have beaten the living shit out of each other so many times. I can't count. My wife used to get nervous every time that she knew I was going to be wrestling Hoss, because when I came back, I wasn't going to be worth much. Not that I am anyway. But anyway, so this kid goes up to Hoss, and I think he just wanted to get kind of an idea of, get some tips on how best to work with me. Hoss took the opportunity to explain to this young man that the most important thing to remember was, I am blind in my left eye. So it was very important that he always stay aligned with my right eye. Otherwise, he was going to get jacked up. And Hoss told him some magnificent story about how he forgot on a couple of times, and I went to throw a punch, and he was in my left eye field of vision, and I couldn't judge it, and I don't know what he told him. I fractured his skull, broke his jaw. I'm sure he dialed the story up big, and he just laid it in there. You gotta make sure that you favor that right side, because he can't see out of his left eye and he will kill you. Now, I don't know if you guys are aware, but in wrestling, we always work off one another's left sides. So that had this kid all night trying to work my left side while keeping himself in my right field of vision. So that whole match, I'm trying to figure out what the hell this kid is doing, because he was a really good kid. He did all the things you're supposed to do. As soon as I got there to the venue, he come right up, introduced himself, the way you're supposed to if somebody's more senior than you, and super nice kid. He could work. I mean, you could tell he was a little green, but he could work, except that he was in just a little off in his positioning all the time. And I'm like, what the hell's going on with this kid? It wasn't bad enough that it was really infuriating me. I just chalked it up to him being green. But it was comical. Every move we'd go for, he'd take me in an arm wringer, grab my left arm in an arm wringer, and then move my arm around towards the front of me to make sure that my right eye could see him too. And I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. So the match comes off, we get done, and we went to the back, and it's like, I got to find out what the hell this kid was thinking. So we get in the back, and immediately he comes right up to me, because he had left first, and he comes right up to me, thanked me for the match and everything, asked me how he did. I said, you got the basics. I said, but your ring awareness, your positioning in the ring, I said, it needs some work. I said, you really need to work on that. And he looked at me and he was kind of like, well, I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was something along the lines of, I was just trying to help. I'm like, help how? He goes, well, I was trying to favor your good eye. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, I was trying to stay in, your field of vision in your right eye to help you out. He was saying he was trying to help me out. I didn't want to get my jaw dislocated or something. And I was about to say, what the hell are you talking about? And then I heard Hawks laughing like a madman just behind us. And I immediately knew what was going on. So I just kind of bowed my head, and this kid's still standing there, and he looks at me, and he looks back, he looks at Haas, and it finally just all dawned on him, and you could see the weight of the realization hit him, and he was just like, oh. He goes, Curtis, you can see out of both eyes, huh? I was like, yep, I can see out of both of them just fine. He goes, oh, I'm a greener, huh? And I was like, yeah, you are. It was just one of those things. It was not one of the big ribs. It wasn't some spectacular thing, but it was just fun and funny and hysterical for me now, because I still to this day remember being in the ring going, what in the hell is this kid doing? How can he have so many elements of the game down, but he can't figure out where to stand in the ring as he's working the match? So, but I've got a lot more stories of ribs, some that I perpetrated, some certainly more vile than that one. And I've got plenty of stories of ribs that I've heard from others, that I've witnessed, and some that have been told to me. And if you guys like these rib stories, I've got a lot of old wrestling buddies. I'm sure I can get to cut some videos and tell us their stories. So until then, I'm gonna go punch Bob some more. And all I can say is it's a good thing he's got no arms, because I've gotten so slow, I have trouble winning fights with him now, and he's armless.